Hello and welcome to a build guide for the least playable skill in Path of Exile, Summon Reaper. I got kind of bored doing minion builds this league, and I had 2 cold iron points, so I decided, what the heck. Summon Reaper is a physical skill gem, so I decided to start putting together a build that used 2 cold iron points and Summon Reaper. And I tried many things and ended up with this, and then it ends up making a pretty decent mapping build that you're not really going to clear pinnacle content for, but if you're going to be bossing, you're going to use the double cold iron point. And then for mapping, I actually use an Arakali's Fang, because once you're using animate weapon, so once your animate weapons help you cause a few explosions, then you're an occultist, so your profane bloom is actually going to create a bunch of spiders, and then you're just going to be able to run around killing everything with your animate weapon and spiders, and then anything that's tankier gets killed by your Reaper. So I'm going to go through the gear quick, and then everything else. So I ended up keeping 1 cold iron point for the mapping version, +3 all physical skill gems. You're going to want Convocation, faster attacks, and whirling blades there. Convocation on your left click, basically because of your gems are going to want you to use minion skills every so often, and you're not going to want to be casting them so much. Convocation. Also, it kind of heals your minions. They don't have a lot of life or anything. The Devouring Diadem is going to be a required helmet here because of how many auras I'm using. And then increased Summon Reaper cooldown recovery rate is definitely the best helmet enchant. I was using Reaper damage for a while just because I don't like doing lab, and that's what I found on the market, and that worked fine. But this mixed with Ashes of the Stars and Divergent Summon Reaper will basically give him the Reaper full uptime of it's like 6 seconds and 6 seconds cooldown for his eat, so that he gets his increased attack speed and all that. Your helmet, you're going to put Determination, Pride, War Banner, and Summon Skitterbots. There's room for changing some of that around, but this is what I ended up with. I'm using an Ashes of the Stars, which with Divergent Summon Reaper is BIS, but I was using a +1 Fizz for a while and it was doing just fine. You just don't have the full Reaper damage uptime. And then I guess I'll move on to the chess piece here. I'm using a Skin of the Lords. Versatile Combatant is important for the build that I'm doing because it's how I achieve 50-50 block with glancing blows, which isn't the best defensive layer, but with 2 daggers it's really hard to get good block. But, you know, Divergent Summon Reaper, I do 3 blue, 3 red on the Skin of the Lords. It's not really expensive. Divergent Summon Reaper, Awaken Melee Fizz, Awaken Brutality, Awaken Minion Damage, Predator Support, and Empower Support. And I don't use the damage over time gem on I do a damage over time gem on Reaper because when I'm using double cold iron point, I'm actually scaling the hit a lot better than I'm scaling the damage over time. And it's actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be overall. You're using 1 profane proxy with a vulnerability socketed in there, and that will keep you from pushing a button, essentially. It's not bad. You could up your damage with another bone ring or a gloam ring in that slot, and then you just have to actually cast vulnerability, which I hate doing. And then yeah, you wouldn't get to really use a portal gem, which is quality of life. Anyway, I'm also using a bone ring with a lot of dex life, increased minion damage, and resistance. It has fire resistance on it. I really wanted to get more resistances on this ring to put less tax on my other pieces of gear, but it's really hard to find that high minion damage with life and dex like that. So for gloves, you roll them with your essence of fear for the minion damage, and then of course I have resistances on here, and I have a fractured high life roll, and these came out pretty good. And then the important Eldritch I have on here is actually the minion damage. The other one doesn't really matter. I just haven't rolled it to something that matters. I don't know if there is one that really matters for the build. A Stygian Vice with lots of resistance, life. I have armor and life per second regenerated, which are both good stats too. And of course the Ghastly Eye Jewel with life. I needed some dex on this one, but all of your Ghastly Eye Jewels should have increased damage if you used a minion skill recently. Oh yeah, this is also my Corrupted Blood can't be inflicted on you one, which is really important too. I hate Corrupted Blood. My boots, I get 39% increased armor on my gloves. My helmet doesn't have armor, but that might just be wrong, but whatever. And then fire resistance, just because I struggle with resistances so much making this build. Tons of resistances, 30% movement speed, and high life roll, and extra armor. Suppose I didn't go through my links, so I have to go back and do all that. Divergent Animate Weapon. I go for Divergent Animate Weapon because you have a chance to get extra summons per cast, and that's just pretty big quality of life. You want Unleash so that you're not casting it a bunch as well, so you cast 4 at a time because you're not actually using Awakened Unleash, and it doesn't matter. Maim for increased fizz damage and maiming enemies. And Awakened Melee Splash right here is actually going to be a gem swap during bossing. It's really good for mapping, but you'd want Awakened Melee Fizz for single target. I haven't played around with what the best... I think there's a better if you have like a white socket to swap that with, but I don't know. And then in my boots I have Cast when damage taken on Molten Shell, which I leveled my Cast when damage taken to level 8. So that I could level my Molten Shell to 14, because when you have 2 Cold Iron points, that actually gives you level 21 Molten Shell, which is like 300 extra armor. It'd actually be fine at level 1 cast when damage taken, and then I think it's like level 7 or 10 Molten Shell, I forget, but whatever level 1 cast when damage taken can do Molten Shell, like, that's probably better, but I haven't actually like looked at it to see if it really is. Yeah, I think you only have to take like 1,000 damage for level 8. Yeah, it's like 1,100 damage, so it won't be proccing all the time, but when you need it, it should be there. I found a spot for Portal Gem because it's quality of life, not having to have Portal Scrolls. And then Blade Fall you use just to animate some weapons. We'll go over Flasks. My life flask, I have immunity to ignite and removes all burning, because ignites are annoying. My granite flask is all of my utilities are gonna have increased charge recovery. I put the rarity of items found craft on this flask just to separate it so that I have more uptime on that, because I have more uptime on that than my gold flask, which has a reduced effective shock. And then so there's 60% IIR, which is really important this league. I hope that kind of goes away. That's kind of ass. Quartz flask for 10% spell suppress and phasing, increased charge recovery, and then increased movement speed on that. Actually, probably could be better suffix. And then increased armor during my movement speed flask effect with 50% increased charge recovery. So that kind of helps with my defenses. In Pantheon, obviously you would go Soul of Brine King for freeze immunity. And then you can, if you're encountering a lot of burning ground, Soul of Aberath is really good. Otherwise, Soul of Shikari for reduce chaos damage, basically, and then damage over time from caustic ground and poison damage. Those are all things that you're not going to have a good time with. Passive tree, we're an occultist with Malediction, Profane Bloom, Withering Presence, and Void Beacon. That's just kind of standard, really, when I play occultist, how I usually end up making it. And there's reasons for like the negative chaos resist, as we'll get into here in a second. It's a pretty standard minion tree from guides that I've followed. I've mostly made minion builds using K's guides, and this is pretty cookie cutter. I'm using a Watcher's Eye that has 5% chance to block attack damage while affected by determination. I could fit like a level 1 vitality for that extra life regen, but I don't need it. I did that for a while. I do have a Monomoo's Gaze that I don't know if I actually want in here or not. I haven't plugged into POB since I put that in. So take that with a grain of salt, because I am scaling hit a lot harder. And then this gives my minions 14% chance to poison, and then they deal damage when you use a minion skill recently. That's one of them with life. Other one is these ones. This gives minions a chance to cause bleeding. So now my other minions, other than Reaper, can cause bleeding, life, and minion skill recently damage. Kind of cheeky thing we're doing for block is glancing blows, and then we go up to this dual wield mastery. We're gonna take this for 5% spell block and block attack, and these give increased block while dual wielding as well. And then the mastery gives us 20% chance to gain elusive when we block while dual wielding, which is actually pretty good defensive layer. I'll hover over my masteries quick. Minions have chance to gain Unholy Might for 4 seconds on kill, which will give a bunch of chaos damage, which shreds through enemy resistances. 20% increased effective offerings, which actually is for the bossing. I forgot to go over the links on the bossing dagger. It's Desecrate, Spirit Offering with cast on damage taken, so you actually get a bunch of crit from that, and it's pretty good. Armor Mastery, we're going to do Termination has 25% increased mana reservation efficiency, because then we can completely stay out of this sovereignty wheel to gain reservation efficiency. So like, if we didn't have that, we'd have to put 2 points here, and that's 1 point here instead, which is just efficient. Minions have 30% increased area effect. Obviously the 50 max life and the 10% increased max life and reduced life recovery rate are a must. Minions attacks overwhelmed 20% physical damage reduction is a big one. And yeah, that explains that stuff. My large cluster, I think what you want is Call to the Slaughter, Feasting Fiends, and increased effect, and then another stat, I have strength for some more health. But the big thing is increased effect, Call to the Slaughter, and Feasting Fiends are your best damage. I've tried some other ones, they just don't do as much. So you're getting 12% increased damage for each notable for 12 passive skills. I'm getting 6 strength, which is 3 HP. Feasting Fiends gives 10% increased damage and max life, and they leech. And then Call to Slaughter is 15% increased damage, and then attack and movement speed. One of your jewels here is just going to be Fortress Covenant for minions block, minion damage. You don't get the circle from it, so it's just really good damage boost. And then our small cluster, you're going to run armor with Enduring Composure. So you get 15% increased armor, 3 Eye of Chaos resist, fire resistant, max life is my other stuff, but 30% increased armor and 1 endurance charge every second if you've been hit recently is a huge defensive layer, coupled with 1 maximum endurance charge. The medium clusters for minion life don't really scale anything that you need in this build, so I completely removed them for going for damage. And I'm only level 92, but I'll probably take these two 10% increased damage, and if I was to get more points I would just put them in damage going into this spot over here for 1, 2, 3 more points it would cost me to get some more damage over here, and then this irrelevant mana intelligence. So that's all fine and dandy. Kind of thing that people will want to see with a Reaper build is its mapping potential, because I claim this is more of a mapping build than anything. Your defenses aren't really there for like uber bosses or anything. So I have a standard Alkengo map here, just nothing's too spooky here, quality, and I put sacrifices in just cause, and then we'll go ahead and throw Einhar on there because that's like the flavor of this league. Start of the map, you use Bladefall, and you get your animate weapon up to 16, which is the max, and then you don't worry about keeping up the 16 once you have your spiders going, because there'll be enough clear with whatever you drop, because your filter should be edited for animate weapon. So notice I have 20 spiders basically right away from my Profane Bloom, and then whenever I have it set so that my filter shows me those red boxes just for my animate weapon targets, I just hit my animate weapon on those as I see them. And if I have a full animate weapon, that's great. If not, the spiders do plenty of work, and you just kind of run around. Obviously, we haven't hit any like essence or anything yet, so like, oh wow, I actually am embarrassed. Okay. I never summoned my Reaper, did I? I think it was out. Oh well, I wasn't paying attention. Kind of half awake right now. Detonates corpses. That is like my least favorite thing for strong boxes. Especially if you have good clear speed, because then it'll just detonate all the corpses and kill you. So if you're not paying attention, that'll kill you. Legion it's not great for, but better than my SRS, I would say. You got enough cooldown on the right click, or well, I have Reaper on right click, and as you see, like I can go slash and kill a bunch of stuff as I run through all this. So, and you'll notice if you're watching the top, I don't keep 16 animate weapons up constantly, and it's fine. Suppose I should just be like running the map for clear speed and then going back for loot, but I actually kind of hate playing like that, but that's how most YouTube streamers show off their builds. Or YouTube content creators, I should say. I'm not going to do this because it's not an improved offering. And if I was going to do it, I'd come back for it because I don't really want to show something that doesn't showcase clear speed. I don't want to take negative effects on my character on this guy, because balancing my resistances was tough enough. Oh geez, I lost my animate weapon. Normally you get enough weapons that you don't completely run out of animate weapon. And that could just be me not paying attention, among other things. Essence mobs aren't too spooky. That's not really a great essence mob to show that on, because I just had screamings, but you notice, like, I just right-click with Reaper and things die pretty quick that are tankier. Other than that, I just kind of run around and let my, like, all my spiders and animate weapon kind of do their thing. I'm using Bladefall a little bit here just to make sure I have minions, which I don't normally do. I actually kind of hate Einhar for how slow that is to clear that stuff. So I really hope they would, like, take away the fact that, like, that's one of the better ways to get rare mobs. Because it's just awful, awful content in my opinion. But hey. Animate some weapons, and I think we just gotta kill the boss now. Oh hey, that was cool. You'll find that when your bosses are tankier, when you're not using 2 cold iron points, you don't kill them very fast. But they would be pretty quickly killed if I was using the 2 cold iron points, which you don't. I could have swapped. I wouldn't have needed the spiders there. But yeah, I mean, I'm like half asleep, so I could have gone faster, but that's not bad clear speed. I'd show a boss if I wasn't already making too long of a video here. But I don't think that it's anything special for bossing, but the map speed is pretty good, I would say. So if, like me, you think the Summon Reaper does look pretty cool, this is a build that isn't super low investment. Like Ashes of the Stars is kind of expensive at 16 divines, but other than that, nothing here is over the top expensive. You can craft all of it yourself with pretty reasonably cheap bases to purchase. Although crafting right now is pretty awful, so good luck to you if you try and put this together. I had a lot of fun putting it together, and I like the look of the Animate Reaper. So, yeah. Let me know what you think. Give me any suggestions. Honestly, I think similar gear, like animate weapon being in your chest piece, and then like running animate guardian and either zombies or specters would be a better build overall. That probably wouldn't run Akali's Fang. And you would be Necromancer instead of the Cultist. You'd have probably a shield equipped with 1 cold iron point. You'd have max block. You get your pops from your Animate Guardian, and then you would never want to use Akali's Fang because you'd put Gravebind on your Animate Guardian. Then you can fit IIR in there, and then you get that permanently. And then you get extra IIR if you throw a Kingmaker on them, as well as you get 10% for 10% reduction to damage from Fortify. So I think if I was to kind of take this idea and fully optimize it, it would be Animate Weapon, Animate Guardian, and then if I need defensive minions, it'd be zombies. Otherwise, it would be some sort of Animate Spectre that could debuff and give me Feeding Frenzy and stuff. Comment if you have any questions or ideas to improve this horribly scuffed build. Anyway, thank you for watching. It's, again, considering I there are a lot of things about this league I didn't like. Putting this together kind of kept me going, so I hope somebody out there enjoys it.